Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Skeleton Crew post show. My name is David.
Craig 5 standing by.
I'm Colin.
And this is where we talk all things Skeleton Crew. Guys, this episode 3, we got a new character introduced to us. We got some clarification on who Jod Nawwood is. We got his name, Jude Law's character. And we also got a second name revealed to us, which we kind of knew in the marketing stuff. But before we get started here, we do definitely want to thank all of our awesome Patreon members out there, starting with Darth Ace 1, Liam McCallan, Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Deb McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Netzel, Maya Morris, Maka Tautala, Adam Haber, Brad Mackey, Front Row King, and Darth Beard. Thank you so much for awesome love and support out there. Also, Legion Sabers, want to give them a shout out. They hung out with us at SpaceCon. If you go to legionsabers.com, use the code STUFF at checkout, you'll get 15% off. Plus, if you spend over $300, you get a free lightsaber. So check those guys out. Tons of new information. We moved the story along a little bit. We got that clip last week that we got to see the full kind of live action part of episode 3. So, Colin, what did you think about this episode?
I thought it was a very informative episode, but it was nice that it wasn't just like, it was just full of information. There were some action scenes. I really enjoyed, because in the last episode, Crimson Jack and the kids, just kind of met for a brief second. And then this was the episode where they actually were just like, okay, is he a Jedi? Is he not a Jedi? At the end of this episode, like, he's like, I never said I was. So it's just like, but is he Force sensitive? That's the question. Is he Force sensitive? So I just love how with each episode that we're getting, it's adding more mystery. I also like the mention of how they said it's right next to Coruscant and the planet Alderaan, which that kind of is like, okay, well, that's interesting that they don't know about Alderaan, which just adds more to of the mystery of, like, they are isolated. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, no, I am excited to see, like, of just more and more of this, because it just keeps adding to the mystery of the show. And I think that's what's really intriguing about it. So yeah, awesome. It was a good episode.
Yeah, I thought it was really awesome when Fern brought up the whole fact that how he could move stuff without being a Jedi, not using the Force. She was like, mirrors, magnets,
yes,
string.
Yes.
And then Neil was like, yeah, very thin string.
Which I love that, because when I was a kid, I would get like a fish string and tie it to a lightsaber and then tie it to my wrist, and I would go like that to make it look like I was using the Force. So that just like reminded me of what I used to do as a kid. So, and when that's the beauty of the show.
Or just before we started shooting the episode.
Okay, it just happened yesterday. Okay, Craig, come on. Well, yeah.
All right, Craig. So what do you think?
You should see it.
Craig,
I thought it was a good episode. I really like the show so far. I like the feel of it. I like the vibe. It feels kind of more a little bit like Goonies than it does Star Wars, but no complaints for me. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, Star Wars has to expand with all kinds of new projects. We can't keep doing the same thing, over and over again. We got to explore new things, and I like that it feels very mysterious. It feels like they put a lot of thought into the writing of the show, so it's not linear. It's, constantly taking us in different directions, but reveals a little bit at a time while still being mysterious at the same time. So I like the show. So far, I'd probably give this episode an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I man, it's like I said before, like, I just love how, like, it's familiar, but it's different at the same time. And I think that's what keeps drawing more people in each week. Even though this is the second week, I'm just saying, like, it's really good. David, what did you think of the episode?
I thought it was good. It was fast. It was intense. It flowed well. It felt like we were more so being led on this adventure. They answered a lot of our questions. It was almost like they listened to the pre-show and just started answering kind of questions about Jude Law, and we fleshed him out a whole lot more. We've figured out that, yes, he is a scoundrel. He is a pirate. He is Captain Silva, which they revealed at the very beginning of the episode. So we got all that information. We just don't know, like, his force sensitivity, if it's there or not.
Yeah.
That's really the last, I think, big question about him.
I think we're gonna get like a Kanan Jarrus type moment, like we saw in those first 2 episodes of Star Wars Rebels. I could just see him, if he is force sensitive. In my mind right now, I don't think he is, but if he is, I could see him being like, all right, okay, and then, like, he just, he finds a lightsaber, or he's been holding on to it, and he's got a familiar kind of backstory like Kanan, or a completely different one of maybe where he was kind of like Ezra, where he wasn't attached to the Jedi Order at all, and he was kind of isolated, and there was no Jedi to kind of induct him into the Order, so he kind of had to figure out the Force on his own and everything. So it could be like that, like, we don't know, but if he was force sensitive, I could see it being like that, of where it's kind of like a Kanan Jarrus type moment that we see, where he pulls out the lightsaber, and then, like, he kind of embraces, like, the whole Jedi thing. But again, we won't know until later. But yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was force sensitive. It doesn't necessarily mean he was a Jedi. Especially when he did that little trick, to make sound to make the guards turn around and go that direction. That felt like, okay, how else could he have done that if he wasn't force sensitive? More so with the key, it felt okay. Maybe it was some kind of magnetic or magnets or something like that. And they did address what Ted said, I think, in the pre-show, which was, well, why didn't he just escape beforehand if he didn't have? And I think he said he didn't have a ship, and now he's flat out said, I didn't have a ship. Where was I going to go?
Yeah,
right. But we do now know that he's on the hunt for this treasure. This is like the ultimate score. This is gonna clear his name, essentially. So I mean, it's like a half truth in a way, but
right.
Yeah, I mean, he was in the jail cell. Apparently, Brutus stuck him in there. The new captain of the pirates.
Well,
there.
I thought so. I felt like that was authentic, and I think I said that in the pre-show, because I said it looked like he had been in there for a long time.
Yeah.
It feels like we're going down to, and I think I said this on last week's episode, where it feels like we're kind of going down a familiar path, like Treasure Planet and kind of that kind of storyline of where he's probably not going to tell the kids later on who he is, like, really, or they'll really find out who he is because of some other pirate is like, hey, look, it's our old captain, and then they'll be, okay, there's too many lies, we don't trust you anymore, and that's kind of what happens in Treasure Island in Treasure Planet. So I think they're going down that very similar path of story.
Yeah, the special effects in this episode were spectacular. You could really see the money on the screen, especially in the pirate port. I love the action sequence where they were still tethered via the gas line, and they still jumped into hyperspace, and then the recoil of the line just destroyed so much stuff on the port. And I mean, this is the second most expensive TV show of all time, and we're kind of seeing it on screen. I'm glad to see that, and especially with the new character that we got. So we got the character of Kim, who who basically looks like an owl.
Nice.
Nice. So
I've been waiting for that. That was a joke long in the making.
So she is.
I feel like it's a mix of an owl and like a cat in a way, if that makes sense, because of you have the whiskers and
I didn't notice that one.
Yeah, it just feels like the mouth of the character just looks like a cat to me. Yeah.
I agree. I see it too. It definitely looks like a mix.
Yeah. Do we know the species name yet or no?
I don't think so, and I don't think it's
Okay.
in the encyclopedia because I don't think any Skeleton Crew stuff is in that.
No,
in that new
no,
book we got.
yeah. And the encyclopedia, I think they don't have anything from Skeleton Crew and they don't have anything from Outlaws. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess we call Al a she. I mean, the name's Kim, and it's a female voice and female voice actress as well. She's wearing a cloak that's very reminiscent of a Jedi, and also that kind of headpiece that Lobot and KB wear.
Yeah.
And at the very end, when they leave each other's company, Kim tells KB that you can contact me anytime. So I think maybe they have some type of connection with their headgear there.
I thought it was kind of sad and funny, but of when Neil was like, yeah, our planet is between Coruscant and Alderaan, Kim kind of laughed and was like, ha, about Alderaan, and it's just like, well, that's kind of sad because it got blown up, so just like, damn, okay.
Did she specifically say that between Alderaan and Coruscant?
It was between Alderaan and Coruscant, or the line was, it is right next to those two planets.
Because I thought what she said was when they were asking about planets, they said, we know about Coruscant, we study about Coruscant and Alderaan.
Oh, okay. Then that might have been the line, but she laughed right after. After they said Alderaan, and the kids kind of looked at each other and were just like, well, like, why is that funny? So, yeah. No, I am really enjoying the mystery aspect of the show because it's really intriguing, and I love the twist that these kids were kind of isolated and they don't know the history of what's going on. And it's funny because of, it's like we are in this, kind of realm of like, we know the history of Star Wars, but these kids live in Star Wars and they don't know the history. And that's what's really interesting. So I can't wait to see more references to what we know that kind of goes over the kids' heads, and it's just going to be really interesting. But yeah, no, this show has a lot of potential. Who thought when the X-Wing showed up that Carson was going to be one of those pilots?
Everyone.
I thought so.
Yeah. I kind of thought that, but then I was like, that's kind of on the nose, like just to do it right away. Like if they do Carson, I want him to maybe show up later. I think kind of now is kind of early on. If he doesn't show up, I'll be very surprised. But when were they making the show again? It was 2020, 2020. Oh,
2 years
okay.
ago.
Okay, so they were making it around the same time they were doing The Mandalorian, so it's a possibility.
I mean, if he shows up, I mean, it's fine, but he can't be everywhere, all over the galaxy. It's crazy,
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, true. But if that, well, yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Do we know who the X-Wing pilot was? Like, do we know like the actor that played the X-Wing pilot yet? No.
That's a question I was going to present to you guys.
Okay.
He looks familiar.
It was Ryan Reynolds. No,
I'll tell you who it reminded me of. The original X-Wing pilot in A New Hope, who's like gold leader coming, that dude. That's who it kind of reminded me of.
Yeah.
Oh,
but he's with Blue Squad.
Didn't he blow up? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say.
But that's who it. When I looked at him, I was like, oh, it kind of reminds.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a new character. We don't know his name yet.
Kind of reminds me of a young Vincent D'Onofrio, almost.
No, interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, it was great to get X-Wings back. They were in action. It was cool to see the kids get in the turrets. Yeah. And Wim, it was so funny, his reaction. Jod didn't have to tell him anything. He just jumped in there. And just like a big video game, they just started firing away. And it was interesting. We've never seen X-Wings fire back the stun blast at a ship before in live action, right?
That was the first time we've ever seen that on screen, I think. Period. I don't think we ever saw that.
Even animation?
No, I don't recall
wow.
seeing that at all in Rebels at all. So seeing that was pretty cool. I will say I loved when you have Fern get into the turret seat and she kind of questions it and sits in. Wim sees it and doesn't question it. He just laughs and smiles and goes up, and then he's like ha ha ha, ha when he gets in the turret. And that is just like a genuine like kid reaction. I guarantee that was that was the actor's actual reaction when he got in the seat. And it just like just being kids, and then being on a Star Wars set, not just a visit, but to actually like be part of the whole thing is probably just a surreal experience where they'll look back, when they're adults and be like, I got to live like a childhood dream that, it's so cool. So I bet those kids were having the time of their lives. I could just tell that most of the happy reactions from Wim were probably like real genuine reactions of the actor. So I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, they had the time of their lives, especially with Jude Law being on set. From all reports, Jude Law was really happy to be there. He worked with the kids. He wanted to do this, which is fantastic. It's great when you have a huge celebrity that wants to be in Star Wars and is fully invested in it. And he just had a terrific time. And the kids, I know in interviews they talked about how they were really nervous talking to him about like other films that he's done and didn't want to like cross any boundaries or like disturb him or anything. But apparently they got along really great. And you can kind of see it at the at Disneyland when they did the red carpet premiere.
Yes. I thought it was funny because if you watch a lot of the different interviews of Jude Law, like at Disneyland, when people are asking him questions, there's a lot of moments where like he'll be talking and then he'll just go like this because of like he's just like embracing Galaxy's Edge for like the first time, most likely, because I think he said in one of the interviews that he hasn't been to Disneyland like in 20 years or something.
Yeah.
So he was just like just doing this during the interviews, just kind of embracing Galaxy's Edge. So I just love how when they do bring in different actors into it, most of the time they're fans, and that's got to be a rewarding feeling. So I love that Jude Law is having a great time with this role and just being in the Star Wars universe. It's so cool to see.
To feel like the actor wants to be a part of it. Sometimes it's like, if you feel like they don't care, they don't like it, you're like, it kind of kills the excitement.
Yeah. So
and Star Wars does a pretty good job of finding people that do want to be in Star Wars. And it's not like a big ask to be like excited about Star Wars for a lot of these actors. Let's go to the chat here. So we have TJ in the chat. He says he's in the house. He asked if the episode was any good. I guess he's one of those people like Bender who hasn't seen the episodes. They watch the post shows after before they watch the actual episodes. So I think we're all in agreement. The episode was pretty good. CGI spectacular, practical effects great. The story is progressing here. Noah Richard on YouTube says fun episode. Kim looked absolutely killer. We agree. It's a brand new creature design.
Cool.
We have the owl.
David, come on, man. You fell right into that one.
Noah Richard also says, do y'all think any of the close-up scenes with Kim were done practically? Yes, I do think so. Yes, for sure. I think it's a mix of CGI and practical effects.
Yes, and today they actually did show a small featurette about the practical effects and the different puppets that they had on the show. I don't know if they meant to, but they accidentally talked about a creature in a future episode, and I was kind of bummed because I was like, I really would have loved to, seen it on screen for the first time. I won't spoil it for anyone, but they did talk about this creature that was developed by Phil Tippett, which is amazing, and they just talked about how important it was to have practical effects like on this show more than what they've done on these past like shows that they've done for Disney Plus. So it's really cool that they brought in Phil Tippett because he is like the king of practical effects from the original trilogy. They just did a fantastic job. And you've got a lot of the creatures in there that look CGI, and most of them are practical. So it's really, really cool to have those effects back into the Star Wars universe and more of the main focus. So oh man, it's so cool. And if you haven't seen the featurette, it's on YouTube, it's on Instagram, Facebook, and all of it. So go and check it out. And they also mentioned like a new creature that we'll see probably in the next episode or sometime soon in one of the future episodes. But yeah, it's pretty sick.
The director or whatever.
Huh?
The who's in charge at Adden?
Oh yeah. That's a good mystery.
Oh, you're talking about like someone we don't know about.
Yes, because they were talking about like the supervisor or like the main person up top, but they didn't mention them by name. So we don't know who they are.
When you think about like the Wizard of Oz almost,
Yeah.
The behind the curtain, that whole thing.
It just ends up being like a bunch of pit droids, like, on top of each other, like of just being like, don't look behind the curtain. Yeah. They actually did that.
Speaking of droids,
battle droid in that episode.
Yes, that was cool to see a B1 again.
Weird looking droid that had the funny voice. It came alive for like a second.
Yes.
Yeah. That droid was on the Sandcrawler in the original film.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was there was the one other droid that I thought had an interesting line, and I want to know more. But the one droid was like, I must protect the prince. And I'm like, okay, can you explain that one to me? Like, what's going on there? So
it felt like an episode of the Clone Wars where there was like that one droid protecting the senator or whatever.
Yeah, there was that, and there was another droid from the Bad Batch that was the same type of protocol droid that was defending like an old separatist that turned. So it's just like I'm just curious of what that storyline is, and if we'll ever get a story, because of just that one line just has me really curious. We're like, who's the prince? Who you're talking about? Yeah. So
definitely, yeah. And then the battle droid, did we win? And just falls apart.
The answer
that was awesome. That was a nice touch. And then Jad does go back. He leaves the Onyx Cinder to go all the way back to rescue Smee. He rescues Smee. He runs into that Ishi Tib, who's like an old shipmate, someone under Jad's command. And he was playing it very, very cool and coy, and like he was gonna rat him out essentially to Brutus. But we got an interesting conversation there, and we got some more progression of character.
I think there was some foreshadowing there because of when the old pirate, the old Ishi Tib, he was like, let's call a captain and get the guard over there. And then Jad just kind of looks up, and then the camera like goes to like to the next scene. I think, unfortunately, Jad kills him. And then I think the pirates are going to be very, when they see him next, they'll be like, how dare you, you kill, I can't think of the character's name, but they'll be like, you kill that character, and then the kids are going to be shocked because we'll get one episode of where they've probably bonded so much of where they trust him, and then the pirates will be like, you killed this guy, and then that will be like, why on earth did you do that? And then that's going to add more to the plot. But I could just see that happening. I don't know.
Yeah, there was that scene when they were walking up on that moon, and Jad was trying to explain what backstabbing meant to the kids, and they were like, huh? Well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And he's just like, you'll figure that out when you get old.
Yeah.
So yeah, going back to the comments here, Noah says she laughed after Neil said, what war? Yeah, the greatest war in Star Wars, essentially.
It was a lot.
Yeah, involving Alderaan. Yeah, that's pretty much like the demarcation of like time, like BBY, ABY, yeah, that whole thing. Moose Soup Yoda says, "Can't wait to find out who the supervisor is on at Atten. What the heck is going on with the great work?" Yeah, that's something that's do you guys got a feeling that's going to be like a celebrity, maybe someone that like a surprise casting, or do you think it's going to be something like what you mentioned with like the pit droids, possibly?
Jack Black again. I mean, I'm just
a Jack Black-esque casting, yeah.
Yeah, no, man. I mean, you know, who knows who can join, you know, Star Wars at this point, because they just cast Jeremy White as the voice of Rada the Hutt. So it's just like I mean, they could do anything. Who would you want to see?
And I don't really have like a preference, but I would like to be surprised. I would like for a secret to be kept for this, even though I don't really know anything in regards to any of the secrets for the storyline.
Yeah.
I mean, someone from animation brought into live action. I mean,
well, I would say Hondo, but I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I just want Hondo to show up, guys. Like, I just want but they did open up the possibility to see some characters we have seen before, because they did say put a bounty on his head. I want him, I want him captured and all that stuff, like, all the classic, of when people want a bounty hunter, the thing. So that opens up the possibility of, some bounty hunters we've seen before. Zuckuss. I'm really hoping, that would be cool to have, like, Forlom or Zuckuss, and we were close to Forlom in Obi-Wan Kenobi, but it ended up not being Forlom, which I was like, oh, okay. But if I were to have a bounty hunter show up, man, I would really want, I would want Embo, even though it might not be possible, because at this point, Embo is like the personal, in the books, is the personal bodyguard of Mon Mothma. So I don't know if that's a possibility, but I would love to see Embo, because I think if you guys don't know who Embo is, he's got this giant, like, kind of hat on his head, and he throws it like a frisbee, like Captain America. And then he, like, slides on it too, and, like, as a sled in the Clone Wars and stuff. So I'd love to see Embo. Could be Bosk. Bosk would be super cool.
How about Forlom? I'd like to see Forlom.
Forlom would also be
Zuckuss.
Yes, that would be cool too. I would rather see, like, some type of alien, just because we got so many aliens over the Pirate Port. Why not just keep that going? I think having a legacy character like Bosk would be cool, because that could open up the possibility of Bosk and Boba having a reunion. So I think that would be really, really cool to see.
Yeah, we've already seen a Trandoshan.
We've never seen Zuckuss again, have we? Was Zuckuss in Jabba's palace? No, right?
I don't think so. He was just on the bridge in Empire Strikes Back. He's a guy with, like, the bug eyes and, like, the tubes and, like, the three big fingers with, like, the nail holding the weapon close to his chest.
We could get Dengar, because we know
Dengar would be interesting.
He's like really
You remember what happened to him in Rise of Skywalker? He looked.
I can't believe that ended up being him. I was blown away by that. But like the only, like, human thing left is, like, his head, and it's barely human. And then, like, he's got this, like, kind of droid body, and it's just weird. But if they do have Dengar show up, I think Simon Pegg would be awesome to have in, because you've already got Nick Frost in this. How cool would it be to see, Dengar show up, and he's played by Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg voiced Dengar in the first EA Star Wars Battlefront. So I could, he's got history playing the character. So I'm just saying, I think it would be cool. Plus, Simon Pegg has all he's already been in Star Wars, so he's not a stranger to this, kind of world. But yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, Musupioto on YouTube says Armitage Hux is my guess. I can't shake the feeling At-Aten is somehow involved with the First Order's beginnings. And that's kind of what we talked about in the pre-show. Yeah, that maybe At-Aten was created as kind of like the supply hub for workers for the future First Order, for the future kind of ruling whatever it's going to be. No, Richard on YouTube says, so since it's pretty laid out that At-Aten was hidden during the Old Republic, which, yeah, we got kind of confirmation on, do you think we hear Wynn start to mention specific Jedi like Revan or Bastila Shan? There is Old Republic ties. I mean, that'd be fantastic if they made references to those two characters, which, man, we got to get them in live action sooner or later. There's got to be an Old Republic live action thing happening here. Ken Collects Star Wars says, just got here. Has Colin already gone left field with his theories?
How dare you?
No, not really. I mean, they're pretty sound. I mean, I think it's what I've been thinking. I don't know. Are there any theories that you guys got that we haven't talked about? Was there anything that you noticed in this episode? The episode title is like very strange. It's called Very Interesting as an Astrogration Problem. And I think, Craig, you mentioned that it was said by Kim, right?
I thought she said it.
Okay. Interesting. So, Colin, do you have any left field theories here?
Like for what in particular? Like I'm just
anything
curious.
in regards to this episode? I mean,
I don't know. There was the beginning. Well, okay. So there was the beginning. The Wim's dad was kind of in his own world of just kind of, of just being like, my son is lost, but he's not lost. And he's like, he's kind of dealing with the situation. There could also be some guilt there. Maybe he knows something that
he knew something. That was the vibe I got. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that could be my, weird theory, I guess. But yeah.
I really love the glasses that he wears because my father wore some very, very similar looking glasses in the 80s, 90s. So, yeah, it reminds me of my dad. But yeah, I definitely agree with Craig that, yeah, he knows something. He just is acting that way.
Yeah.
And No Richard on YouTube says it's definitely feeling less like Fern's mom knows about the shenanigans going on with their planet. I'm not quite sure about that. I think she may be just acting here like she doesn't know what's up, but she really does. I mean, she could be the supervisor for all we know, but I hope not. I hope it's some other like crazy character that we've never seen before, a cool looking character. And I really think Kim's character looked really cool. I like Colin said, it looks like a cat, kind of mashed up with an owl, and an owl actually has like hands to do things. That would be simultaneously interesting and terrifying to see something like that. But yeah, I'm interested to see what the fan base and what everyone thinks about that character, because I mean, I thought it was pretty cool. I didn't know how it was going to come off. I didn't know what the voice was going to be like. I think we all knew beforehand, if you looked at some of the previous stuff, that we knew there was an actress voicing the owl. And I believe I have a picture of her as well. She was at the premiere, and yeah, that is her.
Wow.
Her name is Aaliyah Shawkat. She's done stuff like in Arrested Development. She's done episodes of TV here and there. But yeah, I think this is like our first like really.
She was in Arrested Development?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's okay. That's geez, what was her name? I remember her now that I look at her.
It looks like IMDb says maybe Funky.
Yes.
Shaman, She-Man.
So yeah, that's right. Her name was Maybe.
Okay, interesting.
You never saw that show, Arrested Development?
I've never seen a single episode. I know it's like, yeah, I know it's really funny. I know it's Larry David. I know a lot about it. Just what's that?
It's not Larry David.
He stars in the show, right?
No, that's not Larry.
Oh, that's Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Arrested Development is Jason Bateman, right?
Yeah, Jason Bateman.
Okay, yeah. My bad. Yeah.
Interesting enough that you brought up Larry David. I don't know if you guys know this, but Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm are like my favorite shows of all time.
Okay.
Comedy. I love them.
And you're from New York, right? So
yeah. So I did stand-up comedy for many years, and I always wanted to meet Larry David. Never thought it would be possible because he's 78 years old. He doesn't do touring, but he did a live show. He's doing a tour right now. I got to see him in South Florida last Thursday, and I got to ask him a question because he took questions from the audience. It was like a incredible moment for me. I was terrible.
Wow, that's awesome.
7,000 people there, and they only took like 15 questions, but I was lucky enough to get to talk to him. So
nice, awesome. Yeah, I know he's extremely funny. I know Curb is like one of the great sitcoms of all time. I haven't seen a lick of that show. I saw a little bit. I've seen like clips here and there online, but I've never sat down to just binge watch the whole thing.
If you like George from Seinfeld, he's basically George.
George from Seinfeld.
That's who he is. George is based after Larry David.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Colin's probably too young to remember Seinfeld.
I know Seinfeld. How dare you?
Seinfeld, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I know Glenn Seinfeld.
So yeah, going through the episode here. The other thing I noticed, did you guys catch this? I'm going to bring it up on screen here if I can. It's so tricky to bring up stuff here. But the Jawas, did you notice them?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not just in general, but did you see that you can actually see the actual curvature of their heads?
No.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
If
you can see it
zoom in there a little bit. I know it's hard on here, but
yeah,
I'm afraid if I play this will take us down. But yeah, go back, watch it in 4K. You can actually see the actor, and it might be Leilani Shu and her daughter Ariel, who do a lot of Jawa stuff for these TV shows.
That would be awesome. Yeah,
but you can see the curvature of their face, and the eyes were protruding out. I know this is not a good picture. Maybe on the right Jawa there, you can actually see the head coming out of the hood, which is interesting. Never seen that before.
Yeah.
Cool.
Jawas are cool. I'm currently helping my wife build a Jawa for the 501st and the Rebel Legion. And I've seen people do Jawa costumes. Those are super cool costumes just in general.
You're not going to dress your baby as a Jawa, are you?
No. Probably not as an Ewok either. I mean, actually, probably an Ewok at some point because of we have a couple of friends that actually do Ewoks, so they'll probably be like, have them join us. But yeah.
Also, the other thing, did you guys catch when the kids were sleeping? You heard Neil snore, and it sounded a little bit like an elephant.
Yes, it did. I thought it was cool. So we still don't know the actual species of Neil yet, but my suspicions are from in Young Jedi Adventures. There is a species in there. I said it last week. I can't think of the name at the top of my head, but it could be that, or it could be the same species as Hooter from Captain EO, which, if you look at his dad in the first episode, his dad looks a lot like the same species as Hooter from Captain EO. Yep, boom. But his dad has more of the same shape and trunk and the head shape too. So
right, and we saw the mom tonight in that scene with the parents, right?
Yeah. So yeah, no, I mean, it's possible.
Speaking of things being possible, there's a lot of people wondering if this is possible, if Wim is in fact the future Captain EO. Because I mean, you already got that one like flying creature in there, Fuzzball, and then you got the elephantine species in there.
Yes,
and this is a Disney property.
For those who don't know who Captain EO is, For those who don't know the story of Captain EO, it was a story that that was made by George Lucas, and it was an attraction that was over at Epcot for a couple of years, and you can actually see the full show on YouTube. Like, it's on there, but basically it was this show in this theater, and you would watch it, and then it got replaced by Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
And it was a 3D, right?
Yeah. So, but there were a lot of creatures in there that, that remind you a lot of Star Wars, things. And of course, because, George Lucas was involved in it. So, and in the second episode of Skeleton Crew, you actually see a creature. We don't know if it's actually like Fuzzball. It could be something different, but it's the same species as Fuzzball. So it's like, you don't know. I mean, it would be interesting if they did that. I mean, because then what would Captain EO, like, of that whole entire show, be canon to Star Wars? So yeah,
crazy. But they said they're going to do a season 2. So, or are we doing Captain EO Strikes Back?
Oh, whoa, wait, hold on. Where did you hear that? Hang on. Where did you hear that they're doing a season 2?
Craig.
Yeah.
Of what?
Where did you hear that they're doing a season 2 of Skeleton Crew? Yeah.
Well, they were talking about, they already have plans for what they're going to do with that. It would come like 3 or several years later, because the kids are older.
Yeah. Okay.
We were talking about that on the pre-show.
So yeah, that's a possibility.
Okay.
It's just dependent on if the show's successful, if Lucasfilm wants to continue with this, even though.
But I think they're going to.
Well, I mean, it does fly in the face of like the whole mandate now that they only want to focus on like theatrical releases and not do as much TV. Because I mean, this costs a whole lot of money, and if they want to keep it up, it's going to cost a whole lot more if they want to keep the same style and look of the show. So, and then the kids are going to be 4 or 5 years older, and that'll mean that they're going to look like young adults. So depending on how the story goes, but John Watts says they do have an idea, and they have factored in the aged up children in the show. So we shall see. Only time will tell. And by the time we get that, it'll probably be time to get ready for maybe Dave Filoni's movie, his second movie.
Yeah.
Or is really technically his first, because Mandalorian Grogu would be Favreau's film, and Filoni would be like his right-hand man. But yeah, Filoni's Heir to the Empire, allegedly titled. So this scene right here, I wanted to point that out. So Colin hasn't experienced this yet, but when your kid says, "I'm not sleepy at all," they instantly like fall asleep.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Craig, have you heard what I'm naming my kid? I'm having we had a gender reveal party this past weekend. We're having a boy, and thank you. And we are naming him Hayden. No, Hayden Walker Weaver. Will be the name.
I mean, that's not bad, but Craig, I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, that's true.
No, congrats, man. That's great. And
yeah, maybe I appreciate it.
In the spring?
It's on so the due date's no, it's on May 14th, but it's still kind of a Star Wars day because that's George Lucas's birthday.
Okay, we'll allow that.
Right. But here's the thing, though, and I know we're kind of going off topic.
May 14th. That's it.
Well, I don't know if I want his birthday to be on May 4th, just because of I've got like on May 4th is such a busy day, right? So it
inconvenience your Star Wars.
So if that happens, what happens if he grows up not liking Star Wars? Like I can't be like, you are gonna like Star Wars. Like I can't do that. So it's just like
gonna watch Last Jedi.
So if it ends up being on Star Wars Day, that would be great. But honestly, I would love if we could stick to May 14th. I think that would be a really, really awesome day, not just because it's George Lucas's birthday, but it's right in the middle of May, and I already have a lot of family stuff going on in May because I have a twin and other family birthdays and other events. But yeah.
Wait, so a twin?
Yeah, I have a twin sister. Yeah.
A twin
How is this
sister.
the first time I'm hearing this?
This is probably a lot of people's first time hearing this. I know people are going to be like, you have a twin? Yeah. Yes, I have a twin sister. She is 4 minutes older than me.
Craig, you are the king of that with our group. We had no idea who you were for the longest. You were just our friend. And then all of a sudden I find out like all these things about you. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I did not. Yes, you. Like your profession, what you've done in the past. We never like asked you or anything. I mean, you were just like our Star Wars friend, but it was like, oh my gosh, this dude.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I'm sorry I blew your mind, Craig.
I mean, I'm just imagining a female Colin.
She is not. She is not. No. 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 No.
That means yes. No. That means yes.
No.
Yes.
No, she is. She's amazing. She has 2 kids, and then her so her oldest was like, "Hey, Uncle Colin, can I get some Star Wars stuff for Christmas this year?" And I was like, "It's happening! Oh my gosh, guys, it's happening!" so yeah, no, no, yeah, huh?
How old's your nephew?
So I've got 3 nephews and I've got 1 niece. I was talking about my niece. She is 3 years old. So, yeah, which is around the same age I got into Star Wars. So, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Circle of life, man.
Yep. Musa Bioto on YouTube says, do you guys think Jod and SM33 Smee could have met previously to the events of the show? Seems like there's something going on between these two, and Jod seems to have against droids. I don't think so.
No.
But I do definitely think that Smee is super suspicious of Jod and his intentions, which is interesting because he's a droid. That's very, very much like a very kind of sentient, non-droid being reaction to... And I mean, maybe Smee has like very sophisticated programming there, and he's been through a lot.
The other thing is, Smee was, isolated in that ship for a very long time, and we don't know how long the ship was crashed there, but it looked like it was underground for a very long time. There were skeletons there that looked like that they've been there for a very long time. So I don't think it's very likely they've ever met. But who knows? Because if you think about it, we actually don't see Jod take off his helmet in that first episode that we see him when he's like the full pirate captain and stuff. So that could be a flashback from like a couple of years ago. But again, most likely probably not.
Yeah, I really am hoping that we get some type of prequel episode to this, maybe during the season, where we see the original crew of the Onyx Cinder we see Smee and them all interact, and then we see the guy or the girl get stabbed by that blade, by that big like machete that Jod pulls out of that skeleton in this episode. So hopefully we get that. Hopefully we get some coloring of how this ship ended up on Atatin, flying through the barrier and all that. So I'm guessing, the barrier, it makes it look like this planet is like a gas giant to everyone else, and of course you wouldn't land on a gas giant. So I think that's what they're going for, which is cool. That's something I would do. Noah on YouTube says it's going to be interesting to see the reception of this episode over the next few days. Episode 3 for the Acolyte is where things start to go downhill amongst the fandom. This feels much better. I agree. I don't think there's anything to kind of really nitpick about. Maybe people might nitpick about the owl character. Maybe it's like too earthly. But I mean, other than that, I don't really see much to nitpick on. This was a pretty solid episode. Of course, it was only 30 minutes long, which was not great. That's never fun.
Wait,
rectify that.
Wait, was it actually because of if you took a minute off of the recap and then you jump to the end? Oh shoot! Wow. Okay. Are the credits really that long?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go to the very end of the episode, it ends at
different languages.
33.
Yeah. Wow.
And then you go to the end of the credits. It's at the bitter end. It's like 39 minutes, 32 seconds.
Interesting. Okay.
So yeah, essentially we only got 30 minutes of footage, which if Star Wars could fix that, I mean, they fixed the time they released these, which is great for us. We just wish. Ken Collect Star Wars says, will we get Hondo and Pick and when? Also, what bounty hunters will we get? We just talked about that a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
I know Colin really wants Hondo.
Man. Hondo. Just have him show up. This is a show about space pirates. Who is the most well-known space pirate that almost every Star Wars fan knows? He is even at an attraction over at Galaxy's Edge. I mean, come on. Hondo Ohnaka. I would love to hear the words, hello, hello, my friends. I think we all want to, sorry, I'm in and out. Oh, it's all good.
It's all good. Yeah, we just like to joke around.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I really think that you know, if there was going to be like a legacy character to pop up, it would be either Maz Kanata or Hondo Ohnaka, which if you say those two names, they sound very, oh, you know what? Never mind. Sorry. I am going off course here. But yeah, so Hondo would be like a big candidate for showing up for me. And for bounty hunters, I think Craig said that he wants Zuckuss. I'm thinking Bosk would be super cool. I think Embo would, most likely not Embo. I already talked about it. I don't want to get into that. But you know, there's a lot of bounty hunters, you know, could Mando show up? Could that be a foreshadowing of Mando showing up? As much as I want to, I don't know if I want him to.
Yeah.
Just because I think that would just kind of like on the nose. But like now, if you think about it, I could see him relating to the bounty very well, because it's just like, you know, all Mando knows at this point is there is this bounty that that, you know, may have captured these kids, right? So now Mando can relate to that because Grogu has been captured. His kid has been captured. So I could see him, right. I could see him sympathizing with that and showing up. So that could be the way that they could tie Mando in. Will they? I don't know. They definitely could if they wanted to, as long as he's not the main focus. That's just my hope, is that when he shows up, he's not the main focus, and like you just see him just kind of blasting a couple of pirates, and that's really what happens. But I don't want there to be a whole episode of where it's about him and it just kind of
the kids at all.
right, and that just builds up the like of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and it's like, that's great, but what about like the adventure happening right now? So I'm hoping if he does show up, he just, you know, he kind of has a cameo like in the Bad Batch, the crew ends up they end up meeting the sisters from season 7 from season 7 of the Clone Wars, and they make a brief cameo in there. Like they are with the characters for like, half of the episode, and then they go their separate ways. If Mando was to make a cameo, that's how I would want it. I wouldn't want him to be like the main focus, but yeah.
No, Richard on YouTube says, do y'all think the supervisor of Ad-Anton knew the ship was buried on the planet? From how meticulous a planet is run, it feels like they would have done something about it if they knew it was there.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do agree with that.
See that flashback.
Andrew on YouTube says, I wonder who the supervisor is. Old Republic planet. The show is legit fantastic. Loving it. Awesome. Yeah. We kind of talked about that earlier, too. I mean, the supervisor, is it like some creature? Or is it some famous celebrity they brought in that we don't know about that's playing that? Is a supervisor maybe Fern's mom? I mean, that's one of the bigger questions now. It's like, who was the supervisor? Is it a droid maybe? Something programmed under Palpatine's rule. And this is like one of Palpatine's like contingency plans, this planet to make sure that they're hidden, secluded, and he has a workforce for the future. I mean, it could be that. Andrew says, depends on YouTube, depends what if it's Old Republic era, because they did say that. Yeah, the Old Republicness of this show really, really fascinates me, and it really has my curiosity where they're going to go with this. I know they revealed all the way back in London, Old Republic on the timeline, that they want to do stuff in that. So, yeah, what are we going to get more of the Old Republic, if anything? We have the credits. We have, other than the credits, what do we have Old Republic connected from? I think there's something else, right?
I just had a wild thought. What if it's Wim's mom who's the supervisor?
Yeah, that tracks, I think, because she left. Wim did make reference that she used to read bedtime stories to Wim. Then what if the dad knows that, hey, she left, she went somewhere, and he knows exactly where she's at? I didn't think about that. And it is that whole Spielbergian thing where it's a single parent household, and just about every household there, and the very E.T. looking suburbia that they created in Star Wars. Andrew says, I mean, the ship, was it around Old Republic era?
Dad looks like he's thinking, like he knows something.
The ship is a very particular design ship. And we know the name of the ship is the Onyx Cinder. And of course, we got the pirate skeletons. We perceive them as pirates. And then they're using like bladed weapons on that ship. So yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. But yeah, it is strange that the ship was upside down, buried in Ad-Anton, and nothing was really done about it. You would think that if there was a ship there, they would be able to at least like take out the hyperdrive or something, or prevent it from actually leaving the planet, because I mean that kind of blows their cover. Wonder if we're going to get explanation on that. No, Richard says Admiral Paleon from Legends would be a cool fit for the supervisor. Any Hux would be too chaotic to run things this smoothly.
He does have a point, but also I think if they did do Armitage Hux and it ends up being like a secret Imperial kind of operation, that would be a cool tie-in, and then that could involve the New Republic in a way. And then, again, that could lead Mando showing up as well, because, Mando does work for Carson, like for exclusive, of kind of those types of jobs now, as we know at the end of season 3 of Mando. So, they could make it into a big tie-in. They could definitely do it if they wanted to. Do you guys want that? Do you want that big tie-in, or do you want this just to be like its own story?
I think I'd prefer to be its own story.
Yeah. Yeah. But
I don't
yeah.
think it's gonna be a tie-in. I mean, it's possible. I don't feel like it.
Being that it's, well, I mean, we all know that it has the connectivity with Vane, the pirate, and we do know it's happening during like the time of Mandalorian Grogu.
Yeah.
It feels like there is going to be some type of tie-in. It feels like that's coming. And this episode number 3, it was very, very logical and commonsensical, I think. There was no real big surprises. It was all stuff that they revealed that we kind of assumed and was straightforward in a storytelling-wise. So I'm looking forward to big surprises. I hope we get them. Yeah. Supervisor, hopefully, is one of the bigger ones.
The other thing is, you know, Vane was first seen in The Mandalorian, and then I could also see a scene of where Mando does show up, and then, you know, Vane kind of panics seeing, you know, Din, because the last time he saw him, you know, he almost got killed. So I could, you know, kind of see that kind of where it backtracks to season 3 of The Mandalorian. So, I mean, again, I really could see him showing up. I could really see Din showing up. I just don't know if I want that to happen. But if it does, it does. And I guarantee all of us are going to be like, whoa, that's so cool. So, yeah.
Maybe the Naboo N1 fighter that he has.
Yeah. Or we see him like of maybe they go to the planet and they have a old Razor Crest or something, and then that's how he gets the Razor Crest and the Mandalorian Grogu movie, because we see him have a new Razor Crest in the teaser trailer that was shown over at D23. So
yeah,
I'm just saying
possibilities there.
There's so many possibilities. I feel like I'm like things are just really cooking in my brain tonight, but
yeah, if we talk it out, we can figure it all out tonight. So yeah, I mean, that possibilities. I mean, they had a lot of time to factor in a lot of this stuff. I think this idea was cooked up last decade when John Watts was on the set of Spider-Man talking to Jon Favreau. So he's had a lot of time to think about and iron out all these details, and he's close to Favreau. So
I swear, if he shows up, like, no, I'm gonna laugh so hard if Mando does show up and then like they're like, you know, at the pirate port, or they're on the planet of that Adon, and then they see like some old ships, and then the Razor Crest is one of them. That would be like, okay, wow, that's crazy. So yeah, oh man, there's a lot of things that could, you know, happen. This is so cool.
Yeah, Andrew on YouTube says it was great. I was taken back by the owl. I was not expecting that. So here's the thing about the owl, though. I knew that the owl character was there because I've seen just about all the marketing, but they put the owl, Craig. That's who we're talking about. So yeah, the owl was front and center when you clicked on Disney Plus to watch the episode. So when John was referring to an old friend to get help, I automatically thought of the owl. If they didn't have the owl pictured, I probably would have thought like Maz Kanata was going to show up or something. You know, I thought maybe that would have been his friend. It wasn't, of course. It was an owl, new character. That's fantastic. Thought the character looked pretty good, and the character is a little shocking when you see an owl in Star Wars, essentially. But I think it worked. Musu Pyoto on YouTube says, own story works for me, but Disney has such a large sandbox to play in with this era between the original trilogy and sequel trilogies. Yeah, they can go anywhere, any place, do anything, do it less connected, more connected. I wouldn't be opposed to either one. I mean, just let's have it be good, and I'm fine with it. Andrew on YouTube says, funny story about the Razor Crest, lots of laughs. I purchased a Lego set the next day that episode happened with explosion.
That is exactly what happened to me. No joke. I like built it. We like posted something on our old Instagram account, and no joke, that episode like came out, and then I was like, okay, so basically, if I want my Lego Crest to be canon, I just have to, you know, just throw it on the ground, and then boom, it's canon again. So yeah. Andrew, I feel you because that exactly happened to me.
Yeah, and all of us that bought the HasLab Razor Crest right there. We were feeling some type of way there when that happened.
Oh, I was so mad. I was like, that was such a cool ship. But
they're bringing back a Razor Crest for the movie.
Right.
Yes.
They confirm that, or am I dreaming that?
No,
I think the D23 footage, right?
Yes, you like actually see him flying a new Razor Crest, and the color scheme on it is very, it looks like it's a green color. Like how the Razor Crest has like those yellow lines on it. Well, this one has green lines on it, and that's for Grogu, and it's silver like Din Djarin. So it's just like like of his armor. So
yeah, we see Zeb piloting it in that footage.
Everybody's want a Razor Crest again. Is what's going to happen.
Would it be something if they blow it up again? Everyone goes to buy the new toys.
Yeah, I mean, hey, anything could happen in that movie, but that movie comes out in 2026, so it's exciting stuff.
Got a full year and a half to wait, but it's going to come out in May. It's not going to do the Christmas release, so it'll be here before we know it, and hopefully at Celebration in Japan we'll get maybe a panel, maybe some footage. I would be footage, right? I mean, they wrapped it. Right?
Yeah. I would say I would be shocked if you didn't. We weren't supposed to get any footage from D20 because they weren't hinting that we were getting any footage over at the Ahsoka panel in London, but we got some there. And then you also, I just feel man, now I feel like I'm about to go down a Celebration rabbit hole, which I won't. I'll save that for later. But I would be shocked if you didn't get footage. If you are at the big panel thing, try and get in, because most likely they'll do what they always do at Celebration, where if you get into the big panel, they'll like either do like an early screening of like the next big thing, because that happened for the big Lucasfilm panel over at Anaheim. We got the first 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then in London we got that exclusive footage from the second to last episode of The Mandalorian. But then later they're like, people who went to this panel actually get to see the episode like a week early. So most likely that's what's going to happen for Andor, because Andor season 2 will be, out the week after Celebration. So try and get into that big panel, because most likely that's probably going to happen.
Here's an interesting idea that I don't think we've ever really mentioned. I wish that Andrew on YouTube, he's chiming in a lot here. Thanks so much for that. I wish they would treat Celebration like a pay-per-view, charge a price so we can stream it.
That would be so.
That wouldn't work.
I think that would be great, but they would never do that. Just because then people who do go at that point, there would be no point for them to go, because they wouldn't get anything exclusive, like at all. They would be, because if you did, that, then So I understand for
one person could stream it and leak it, and that's all you
need. I don't think that they would do that. They've gotten more strict with things for Star Wars over the years. 2017 was like the last one where they were just like kind of super chill about everything, because of of camping in line and stuff like that. It was great. Like, I say it every time, this podcast would not exist if that never happened. But now you jump to 2019.
Hold on, I don't want to get blamed for that.
That was your brother. He like cut in front of me and then was like, "Hey, I have a couple of friends. Can they come?" And then there was just a horde of you, and I was like, "What the heck is going on?" But so no, 2019 they then have the lottery system, and then that that kind of creates a stir of being like, okay, so I have to get lucky to get into this panel. And a fine example is David got into the Rise of Skywalker panel. He was there. Someone turned to him and was like, "Hey, is this a big deal being here?" And it's just like, That's crazy to me. That's insane. And they just got more stricter and stricter through time. So because they started doing more of these big projects. And during 2017, the only big thing they were doing was the films. Like they weren't, doing anything like, huge like The Mandalorian. Like they were just doing The Last Jedi and then Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars Battlefront 2. But now they're doing, all these other crazy things like throughout the years. So, I could see it getting more stricter and stricter. I don't know what Japan is going to be like, unfortunately, because I'm not going to be able to go because of the due date is close to the date of celebrations. So I won't be there this year, but we'll be going to the next one. Oh. Huh?
This baby is ruining your life, Colin.
No.
By the way, that's what babies do. By the way, so just
whoa, wait. Don't you have like 3 or 4 kids or something?
I have 2 kids, and I'm just anybody that's a parent will understand, though.
Did you have 10 kids, Craig?
I have
20 kids.
Know of.
Wow.
One in every celebration city.
Why do you think I was celebrating?
Oh my god. Okay. Wow. Back on track. Yeah. So going back to Skeleton Crew, we've got wow. We're in episode 3, so we only got 5 episodes left. Yeah. And it ends at the beginning of next year, like right in the middle of January, I think. And then we get
January 19th, I believe, somewhere in there.
Yep. And then we get 1 episode on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
Yeah. And
we hear podcasting, pulling everyone away from their families on Christmas Eve. Yeah, just the pre-show and the post-show.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Shoot. Yeah, because of that's going to be happening at 9:00 too. Oh man. Shoot.
Yeah. So I'm in case anyone that's watching, listening doesn't know, I'm Mexican American. So the big day is Christmas Eve. So I might be like opening presents and podcasting simultaneously.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the. Oh my gosh! Look at this! Look at this Christmas. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Wait, we finally got David some new underwear.
Yeah, that's always my request during Christmas is the new underwear because I don't.
It is the. It's a Luke Skywalker underoos from like the 1970s.
That would be rad. A big like old school onesie.
Oh man. But yeah, so yeah, no, man, I really hope that this show would get a second season or just, some I mean in some way it would be adapted, into something else where we continue to follow these characters.
So let's say the episodes continuously get better and better throughout the season. Do you think there's a chance that instead of doing a TV show season 2, they just go straight to a movie?
I mean, they could also, they could do it like the Goonies, right? So, the whole story is, just great on its own and they don't need a other,
Yeah. And the Goonies, of course, is a big influence. And Watts and Ford talked about how they figure since there was never a sequel to the Goonies, everyone kind of just lived happily ever after, and they had boring lives because there was never a sequel. And they talk about it constantly, like, what if they do a sequel as it, like in the future when they're older, so they're old people, but they go on an adventure somehow.
Wait, I thought they were working on a sequel.
No.
Josh Brolin talked about it in Texas, saying that he was down for the idea. He thought that maybe he would be the kind of like the stuck up parent, and then like his kid would be going out on like off on the adventure. And a lot of the original actors are still alive from the Goonies, but yeah, but
Kwan's popularity is bigger than ever. I mean, Sean Astin,
having
Corey
him
Feldman still around,
dude. Having him show up in Star Wars would be so cool, And, it would be really cool if he showed up, in Skeleton Crew in some way, because, there are a lot of similarities to the Goonies.
That's the supervisor, one of the crew from the Goonies.
That would be awesome. Could you imagine if it was Josh Brolin? Like, our friend Ted would just be like, "You gotta be kidding me, man."
That's why he did Space Con in San Antonio.
Yeah. No, that would be really cool. I would love to see that. Man, yeah. So many great theories, so many possibilities.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And I remember I went to Comic Palooza in Houston, and there was a big Star Wars presence. They did a big Star Wars panel, and Danny Trejo was seated next to them at the autograph alley. And I was thinking, what if Danny Trejo ever appears in a Star Wars? And of course, he was there in Book of Boba Fett as the Rancor trainer. So,
no.
Yep. One last question here. Did anyone? No, Richard on YouTube says, did anyone else hear at one point in time that the kids were supposed to be lost in a new universe, not the main one? This scenario would have been an interesting way to bring Ahsoka back.
Well, so I have heard that, but then I also, there's the possibility of where, their adventure is done, and then all of a sudden it becomes a Lost in Space situation of where they get, shot, and, their ship goes into hyperspace, and, their ship is modified or something, and in some way they'll explain it. But they'll get, go into hyperspace, and they'll end up in the same galaxy as Ahsoka and Sabine, and that's how you continue their story. But yeah.
Yep, galaxies are very, very large, so it would take a lot of power to jump from galaxy to galaxy, as we saw in Ahsoka. So, yeah. All right, guys, I think that's it for the post show for episode 3 of the Skeleton Crew. I want to thank everyone out there in chat: TJ, Noah, Moose Soup, Yoda, Ken Collect, Star Wars, Andrew, and Noah. Thank you so much for typing in your comments, your questions, what you thought. That's always great. And thanks to Craig and Colin for joining me tonight. And for Craig and Colin, my name's David. May the Force be with you.
Yes. Max Rebo has 4 limbs.